Justin, obviously Steve Smith's out the test. Can you explain how that decision was made this morning?
Oh, it was pretty simple actually. When we followed the protocols, he was probably a couple of days off being fit to be selected. So there's been a lot of work go into this concussion substitute, the concussion policy over many years. The very fact that we've got it now in international cricket goes to show how much has gone into it. So, and in the end of the day, it was really a no-brainer. He felt a bit better yesterday, but he's not going to have time enough to tick off everything he needs to do to be ready to play.
And how big a blow is it, obviously, losing your top scorer?
Not unlike England losing James Anderson, actually. He's arguably their best bowler. We're going to lose arguably our best batter for this test match. So it's always a blow, no doubt about that. I mean, you take your best players out, it always has an impact. So we've got to make sure that all the other guys, our senior players and our younger players all step up and fill what are almost unfillable shoes because he's the best player in the world. But we've talked the whole time about squad mentality, being ready, and when things come up, like they always do in this game, we have guys who are ready to step up. So, and I'm confident they'll do that.
And how is he about missing the game?
Oh, he obviously, like all the players, wants to play and he loves batting. We've talked about that a lot over the last few months. But he understands as well. He's not 100% yet, and with only a couple of days between test matches, that's why it's so difficult.
So, Paul, do you want to ask a question? Just hold the microphone. Okay, Ali?
Justin, just going back to day 4 at Lords, and does the subsequent diagnosis of concussion, obviously it's delayed and he passed all the tests at the time, but looking ahead, is that going to make you more wary of when players come and say, you know, I've passed the test, I feel good, I want to get back out there? Is that going to make you probably a bit more conservative than before?
No, not really. I think we'll just keep, honestly, the process is there for a reason. And I'm 100% confident that the decision made the other day was the right one. He passed all the testing and he had a smile on his face, he had colour in his face, and he was desperate to go out and bat. So, and he'd passed all the testing. So, and as I said the other day, I asked him over and over and over, we've got a duty of care to our players, not just as cricketers, but as people. And he was really keen and confident to be okay, and the tests all showed that. They talk about this delayed concussion. I probably have a whole different insight into having been in his shoes quite a number of times before, and it can hit you afterwards. And it did with him, and that's why he's out of this test match.
Justin, the neck guards that go on the helmets, will all the players be using those this week at Headingley?
I'm not sure, actually. I think it's still players' choice. Probably after they've seen what's happened, I imagine. And I didn't actually know, because I'm not a player anymore, that who does and doesn't wear them. It's obviously going to become very topical, and I'm sure a few of our guys like wearing arm guards, or over the years they wear arm guards or chest guards, or obviously everyone wears helmets now. So I'd be surprised if our guys don't, but it's still not mandatory, but I'd be surprised if they don't.
Do you want it to become mandatory, not maybe just for Cricket Australia, but around the world as well?
Good question. I'm not sure, actually. I honestly don't know the answer, though. If it's going to protect our players, obviously, they should be wearing them, no doubt about that. So whether they become mandatory, there's so many people who look into these things. I'm sure, like the concussion protocols, if people deem it necessary, 100% of them, they will become mandatory.
Justin, just up the back here, to your right. Here, g'day. Just on squad mentality, you mentioned before with the batsmen, with the bowlers before the first test, you talked about that in the context of Peter Siddle having a containing bowler in the attack to sort of as a corrective on 2015. Does that still apply now to test matches on needing someone like Siddle or Nisa in the attack, or have the atmospherics of the series changed a bit after Lords and what we saw with the fast bowling with Archer?
In what sense? In
the sense that are you still going to go into the game here having one of Siddle or Nisa as like a containing option? Or are you open to playing an all-quick trio, so to speak? Or
Josh Hazlewood as well. So he bowled beautifully.
Yep.
We know what our plans are to beat England. What we're not going to do is going to get caught up in a emotional battle of who's going to bowl the quickest bounces. We're here to win the test match, not to see how many helmets we can hit. So, and that's the truth. We are literally here to win the test match, and we have our plans on how we think we can beat England. It's not... Mike Atherton said a really interesting thing to me the other day in an interview. He said, it seems a really different Australian team. In the past, you puff your chests out and you grow your beards and you're all tough and so you can bowl as fast as you want. Maybe this isn't as macho as you like as before. No, we're here to win the test match, not to see how many bruises we can give. That's not winning test matches. Trust me, you can't get out with a bruise on your arm. So we'll just continue. We'll pick the team we think will win it. This is a different ground. I think the wicket will be quite slow. It's not going to be as fast as some of the other wickets we've seen. My understanding of everything I've been told about playing here. So I'm sure that the bouncer will still become part of every bowler's armoury, but if it helps us get batsmen out, then we'll use it. Otherwise, we'll keep sticking to the plan.
So Dino, then Dan, and Sam, and then Rob.
Justin, when it comes to playing bumpers and fast bowling, are your guys better prepared than most because you've got so many in the nets that can tear in at them, or has what Jofra done at Lord's given your batsmen really something else to think about, something that they've got to work on to come up with a method that can be successful in the remaining matches?
Yeah, our guys play a lot of short ball cricket in Australia. We tend to play on bouncy wickets. We play on the whacker. We play on the gabba. So that they're used to playing off the back foot, and I'm sure they'll just prepare accordingly. And I mean, England will be the same. I'm sure they've got plans how to get our batsmen out, not just knock them out. So they're working hard on it. We know Jofra's a very, very good bowler. We saw what he can do the other day. We know that Stuart Broad's a brilliant bowler. We know that Chris Wokes is really hard work. We see how Stokes comes in and runs in with that energy and passion every time he plays. So we know we're up against it. So our batters know we're up against it, and we're really going to be ready for that. We have to be, otherwise we won't win the series.
Is that slightly different to how you came into the series because of the introduction of Jofra?
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, we were expecting James Anderson to swing the ball, seam the ball, and we're going to have to be really tight in our defence. He certainly brings a different dimension to the game, and we saw it. But the other thing, he bowled quick, but his economy rate was incredible. I think he bowled at just over 1 run and over. That is unbelievable bowling. So it's skillful bowling, and he bowled some fast bounces in between. So that's Test cricket. That's what we love about it. That's what gets you're awake. So you're alive. You're awake. You got to be awake. You're alive when you're facing fast bowling. That's what Test cricket's all about. It's brilliant.
Justin, in terms of what Adam asked about, changing, and you say not getting into an emotional sort of bouncer war, how much of the challenge of an Ashes series when you're in the middle of it is to continue to make rational decisions and follow rational plans when there is noise around and I suppose guys are getting mentally, physically tired?
Yeah, and we keep talking about you got to play on skill, not emotion. And it's hard with young players, even senior players. You can get caught up into the atmosphere, you can get caught up in the contest. But it's not an ego game. You got to just keep trusting your skill, keep watching the ball like a hawk. Batters, we keep saying, simplify it as much as possible so that we're winning on skill, not emotion. But it is a challenge. That's the challenge of mental toughness. That's the challenge of concentration. That's the challenge of what the champion players do over the good players. So it's a great challenge, and the only way you get better at it is by being exposed to it, and I'm sure we'll be exposed to it this series.
And just on Jack Leach, obviously his both wickets and economy was made quite a difference to the Lord's Tests as well. Some of the guys have got to look at him in the Canterbury England Lions game, but how do you, I suppose, respond to how well he performed at Lord's in terms of plans and preparation for this game? Yeah,
he gives them another dimension, England, with a specialist bowler. I mentioned before the second Test match, I thought the Lord's wicket looked very drier than I probably had seen before. I think this will be similar, actually. So with the foot marks that'll come in our left-handers, they're going to have to be on top of their game. Again, like facing Jofra's bouncers, we're going to have a really good plan about how we're going to face him bowling out of the rough. So, but again, that's all part of the test of playing Test match cricket.
Justin, David Warner's now the senior batsman in the side. What are you expecting out of him now that Smith's out of the game?
I expect out of him every time he plays, whether Steve Smith's playing or not playing. We expect it from all our senior players, and he looked really sharp in the nets today. He'll be hungry. Don't write off David Warner.
Has he shaved his beard to try and turn things around?
Rob.
With Steve, is he likely to have a hit in that tour game, or do you think he'll?
I'd say so, mate. Yeah, he was probably only a few days off, not playing this Test match. So, and it'd be great for him rather than just not doing it in the nets or having throwdowns to play that practice game. So it could work out really well. He'll be. We know what he's like, so look out the Derbyshire bowlers. It'll save us wanging him the whole time, throwing them at him. But yeah, I'm sure if he passes what he has to go through, he'll be right to play that game.
And in terms of the top six from that second innings at Lords, are you considering positional or personnel changes or not?
Not at this stage, no. I think we'll just. Again, I'll keep saying whether it's the bowlers or the batters, we'll just pick the team we think will win this Test match. So we're all aware, England will be the same, that the top orders haven't fired yet, and for either team to win this series, they're up against world-class attacks. Our top orders are going to have to fire. So the challenge is on for both teams, and I'm sure we've got a couple of really senior players, as they've got their captain batting at number 3 to make a mark on this series.
Last question, Barra.
Just a lot of talk about Marnus and the ticker he showed in batting the second inning. But just technically speaking, do you think you've discovered someone who seems very suited to bat in these conditions especially?
Yeah, he played well, didn't he? And I think that we saw that in the Sydney Test match against India. His feet were just flying. In the first innings of that practice game at Hampshire, when it was tough conditions, his ability to go forward and back and leave the ball, his hunger for making runs, his hunger for batting, he's got some exciting talent. So he played well, he took the opportunity, and he will earn great respect for that within the change room as well as outside the change room.